Welcome back to the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate podcast. Today we're talking about what happens to my parents' house once they pass. Not an easy topic, but let's get into it. Hey everyone, thank you for joining us yet again at the Nitty Gritty Real Estate podcast. I'm here with Heather Oliboni, and she's the one who keeps the team straight here on the straight and narrow with all of the crazy topics that we have to cover in real estate.
You mean the in-house fact checker?
Yeah, exactly. We have to have one. So this is not an easy topic, right?
It's a super dark topic.
Yeah. We have an aging baby boomer population, of which we are children of.
Yes.
Where we are both in the millennial generation. And historically speaking, baby boomers have gathered a massive amount of wealth. And we're going to see the largest transfer of wealth to the millennial generation, which I think we'll see another real estate boom based around that. That's just my opinion.
I think so too.
Especially since millennials are late to the purchase game of homes.
Well, and that's the thing, is we can't.
Right.
Most of us can't afford to purchase a home now, and so we are sadly having to wait until our parents pass to be able to even see that might be a possibility for us. Yeah.
We're lucky enough because we're in the industry. I think we've made it a more of a priority for ourselves to own a home. So we are both lucky enough to have bought, especially prior to the pandemic.
Absolutely.
However, we feel the pain of.
We see a lot of our friends and counterparts and whatnot struggling. They're like, we want to buy. At time, we finally saved up enough money to buy.
Yeah.
And now I still can't afford.
Right. It's ultra frustrating, and especially now, we hear baby boomers go like, "Oh, I had a 12% interest rate," but then we're like, it wasn't on like a $350,000 home.
Yeah.
Which is roughly the average around here. It's a little lower than that now, right?
It's actually 351 is the average.
So it's pretty close.
Average median-ish.
Yeah. Okay. So, but we will see a huge transfer of wealth to the tune of around $68 trillion. So that's the largest wealth transfer in the history of the world, which is wild to think about.
And you have to remember that wealth is not just liquid cash, which is, you hear wealth, and that's the first thing that goes to a lot of people's mind is liquid cash.
Right.
It is houses and cars and boats and anything that has some type of net worth.
Right. Yeah, it's not just liquid cash, which sounds great. 68 trillion is a lot of liquid cash. That doesn't even exist on the planet.
I don't think so. I mean, it grows on trees.
Right, yeah, I wish. But anyway, I think we're going to begin to have a difficult conversation with our aging parents. Knowing the signs, I think, would be important to, like, as they're aging.
And we talked about that in the previous podcast with me and Tom. Yeah,
exactly. As they're aging, look for those signs to start planting the seed of, hey, mom or dad, whoever's still around. If they're both still around, let's plant the seed on as they're beginning to age, the difficulties that we will have to face, because I saw my parents go through it with their parents, of having to go over every single day and take care of them because they're like, oh, I don't need any help, but their children recognize the difficulties there, and I know you've even had personal experiences with that. As well,
it's more of like not just what happens when they die, but what happens when they don't prepare prior to, because unfortunately we live in a world where things can change in the matter of seconds, which happened to me. It was a 6-week period of time, and none of us were prepared, including my parent, of what happens next. And even more so is what happens when there is a property involved. And that's where we come in as real estate agents. We are not probate attorneys, but we do know a little bit in regards to the real estate of like what we need, at least in general, to allow you to be able to sell a a house with a parent's name on the title. We've been dealing with that a lot in the recent past. I think it was just like last 2 or 3 months, we've had 5 or 6 that have come across for us that we've had to help people deal with. Okay, well, I have this is in this, because there's many ways here in Arizona to take title. There's, your community property, and then there's your community property with joints, with rights of survivorship. So both of those are married. One is married where the surviving spouse doesn't get the property immediately. It goes through probate before the spouse can get it. Then there is the community property with the rights of survivorship where the married spouse does automatically receive it if they're still alive. Once one spouse passes. So it's making sure that you have that right. And then we also have the joint tenancy with rights of survivorship. That can be multiple people owning a property, 2 or more. They don't have to be spouses. They can, and it can sometimes be 3 people. And then you have, if they don't all pass away at the same time, then it goes to the next person with a 50-50, or the next 2 people with a 50-50, and then the next person with 100%, and then it goes to their probate when they pass. So there's like a long stream of what happens. And then there's the single, which is a little more simple. You still have probate involved with that, but when they pass away, then it goes through probate, affidavit, or adjudication. But in our real estate opinion, the best way to hold your title on your house when you know that that is a potential in the near future is put the property in a trust. Get with a lawyer, get with a probate attorney, and get it into a trust. And I know there are some churches out there that will allow you to build your trusts as well through the church for little to no cost as well. So, and that's not a cheap, trusts are not a cheap thing, but that essentially, it helps with probate because it gives you that roadmap of this is exactly what I want to happen. These are the people I want to take care of things. And that actually helps spell it out so that your children, when they do have to take over, it literally gives them a playbook to go by.
Right.
So would you want to die with or without a playbook is really the question.
Yeah. And two, even we're dealing with something right now as a team where the agent on the other side didn't include necessarily the trust, which is an entity in its own right, and the lawyer who helps to sort of organize the trust and liquidate the assets in this case, liquidating the assets so the people who are on within the trust can access that money. So that's why it's important to have someone who understands this stuff helping you out. Not just a lawyer, but having your real estate team if that asset is decided to be liquidated.
Yep,
so,
absolutely.
Yeah, it can be a complicated thing, but that's why you have professionals and why it's important to build your team when these sorts of things come up, right?
And then the other piece of that puzzle, we talked trusts, but then there's the other side of it, and that's wills. Yep. And then you have your intestate versus testate. Testate does not have a will, and testate does have a will. Essentially what you're doing is that will is a playbook, but it's not as easy of a playbook to read as a trust is. Yeah. Especially for a property.
A will 100% has to go through probate.
Yes.
While trusts, everything's kind of spelled out as to what's happening.
And they may still need to go through probate. That's not a be-all, end-all. Yeah. But it makes it just slightly easier. And whatever you can do, I know as parents, you want to do what is best for your kids. And even at my age, knowing that I own a house, I'm thinking about, do I put my house in a trust so that, God forbid, something were to happen to me? Because you never know. Right. I want to make sure that it goes where I want it to go and no one's going to fight it. You know what I mean? Yeah. They are following my will because that is kind of the point of all of that.
The frustrating thing that I see a lot around this is when families get broken up because of the assets in the estate. It's so frustrating to see, something as I'll say trivial because I think it is. As trivial as money that isn't yours. Yeah. I see so many people that, I'm entitled to this money. And I'm like, says who? They didn't necessarily build that wealth for you. So I think it's important to go into it with, like, it would be nice to obviously have an extra injection of cash, but don't assume that. I mean, it's kind of crummy on everyone's part to be like, this is mine and I'm going to steal it from my sibling.
Yeah, and the other piece of it is you obviously want to do what your parent is in their, what they would have done. Like, you try to put yourself in somebody else's shoes of like, hey, if I put myself in my parents' shoes, this is what they would have done. And it's so hard to know where someone's mindset is at any given time. That's why when it's written down, it tells you where they were. It tells you exactly what they want. So those are really important things. If that's not something you've ever thought about, and you're in that baby boomer generation, and you know, death's inevitable, unfortunately, for all of us. But this is what I want, so that I don't have to, from above or whatever you believe, watch my children fight for no reason.
I know it's almost adding insult to injury to, especially a beloved one who helped raise you, that they don't want this. They don't want a family broken up because of a thing.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's my personal feelings and thoughts on it.
Let's go on to a lighter subject. Okay.
Yeah.
We're through all the darkness.
Yeah.
And we've acquired, as a millennial, this piece of property, this house that, let's just say, your parent, loved one, whomever, was like, I'm gonna die in this property. This house was my first house ever. It's completely paid off. You don't owe a dime on it, but it's gonna have 70 years worth of stuff in it. What's the next step? Like, oh gosh, that can be so overwhelming. Like, I gotta go through all of this. It's gonna be like a 4-year-long journey.
Yeah. My folks have a basement. They have a 2,700 square foot house, and it's just the two of them. And they like to collect antiques.
What you gonna do with those antiques, Joe?
I'm not gonna keep them. So, and that's another thing. I think a conversation that should be had while everyone's still around. Like, hey, I don't want to haul this stuff off for you.
Yeah.
What do you want to do with it? How while you're still here, do you want to sell it, or do you want me to sell it and maybe hire an estate company?
Hey, I acquired all of my grandparents' glassware, man, and a good chunk of their furniture.
I'm not saying I'm not going to take any of it. I might have some of it. However, not all of it.
But that's where estate sales come in. There's a lot of really great companies out there. There's a couple of nonprofit ones here in town. I think a couple that are based through firefighters here in town.
Yeah.
But essentially, they're there to help you. Of like, okay, let's figure out. Let's go through it all.
Yeah.
In was it Joy Kim?
Yes, Joy Kim. Kim Joy. No, Kim Joy was Great British Bake Off, wasn't it?
Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? The
Hey everyone, we want to interrupt this episode to let you know that we are a Keller Williams Southern Arizona franchise.
We are also realtors practicing equal housing. Now let's get you back to the podcast.
Oh, Marie Kondo.
Yeah, that's
so her. Like,
Yes.
you'll go through this stuff that was in your parents' house, and you're like, does this bring me joy? Does this bring me a memory?
Yeah.
Is this something that I want to pass down to my children?
Yeah.
Is it this something that maybe I want my children to pass down to their children? Like, I have some of that. I have my great aunt's hand knitted quilts. Like, yes, should I get rid of them? Probably 100%. But they mean something, and so like you want to go through and just make sure you go through and you keep the things that are important to you. My grandfather made, that's the reason I have a lot of their furniture. He made a lot of their furniture, so that is stuff that is quality, good woodwork, and it reminds me of my grandpa every time I walk into my house. I mean, that's the greatest thing ever. Yeah. So go through that stuff, pick and choose what you want, and these estate sales companies will help you do that. You'll put those tags on what is not for sale, and then they'll go and they will help you sell to others what you don't want to keep without you having to put it all up on Facebook Marketplace and deal with, some of those people. We know they're out there. We all know they're out there.
Auto-responsive. Is this still available? And then you never hear anything back from them again.
And then you make that choice of what you're going to do to the house. So what are the options that you could do with a house that you get from a parent or a loved one?
Yeah, I mean, I think liquidating the asset is probably the most common one that at least we see on our side, right?
Especially if there's multiple children.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
And it goes to one.
That's definitely a good point. And I've even had the conversation with my brother-in-law about this because he has both his folks are separated and they have their own real estate. So I said, well, you guys could both potentially keep it and use it as an income generating property. So if you don't liquidate it, now it becomes a rental and set up. This is not financial advice.
Not at all.
I'm not giving you guys financial advice, but I kind of suggest to him, I'm like, what if you put it as its own entity, an LLC? You could put that into a trust even and have that trust pay you out, both of you out, equally, or into a joint account that could be for their kids.
And if that's something that you really want to look into, get with a tax advisor to tell you how to do it correctly.
Exactly.
We're not tax advisors. These are just ideas and thoughts of what we've seen happen with people that we have interacted with that have acquired properties.
Yep.
Please, please, please do your research on what your next steps are. If you're wanting to sell, talk to a real estate agent. If you're looking to rent, talk to a real estate agent and a tax professional.
Yep.
Also, if you're looking to sell, also talk to a tax professional, not just a real estate agent, because there are taxes once you sell that house of what the income could be.
Yeah, there's capital gains tax that you could be paying, especially as that ownership changes hands and gets liquidated. Definitely if it's beyond the homestead exemption and, you might have to pay a hefty amount of taxes on it. So keep that in mind. And if you don't have to sell it, then you could defer those taxes basically until another time.
Yeah. So definitely. And then, so we talked rental, we talked selling it, talking to a real estate agent if you go to sell it.
Yeah.
What other options are there? Keep it. Move into it. Especially if you're a millennial and you don't own your house and you're currently renting at $3,000 or something odd dollars a month for a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house, and your parents have a 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom house that is 3/4 of the way paid off. Their mortgage, yes, you may still have to acquire it, is going to still be a lot cheaper than your rent, most likely.
Yeah.
Talk to a lender if that's the option and you're needing to take over that.
Yep.
But you can move into that house and have something that you can continue to build equity on until you're ready to sell and buy it, move into. Like, there are so many options on what to do, and we want to make sure that, one, the first and foremost, if you get anything out of this podcast, is talk to your parents about getting everything just set up. Get that playbook set up for what happens, God forbid.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a great point, and one that I had forgotten. Move into it, of course. I mean, especially sidelined millennials who weren't able to buy during the pandemic. Now, here's a chance for you to potentially become a homeowner. And if
as long as it's not in a 55 and older community, and if you have questions about what are the limitations on that, go to our previous podcast.
Yeah, there are stipulations with that. You could potentially own if you're not 55 plus. There's definitely stipulations.
Yeah.
Feel free to reach out to us if you want to know those. We probably have a podcast in our bank of podcasts as well around that. I'll dig through and try to find it and link it below. Link it below. So. But yeah, be sure to keep an eye out, for things like mobility issues. If one of them has passed as well, if their memory's starting to go, and especially if they have to have medication and forget to take the medication. I had that happen with my grandmother. and nutrition failure. They're getting thinner and thinner.
Not wanting to eat.
Yeah,
not wanting to take care of themselves.
Right. And that's not by their own doing. They just, it's not top of mind for them as their brain starts to slow down a little bit more. So yeah, like keep an eye out for these types of things. Millennials, I'm talking to you. This is your podcast. So yeah, I mean, it's not a fun topic to approach, and it's a sometimes difficult topic if you're not that open with your parents on these sort of topics. But I think it's an important one to have.
Yeah.
So
Again, we want to make sure that you guys as millennials are prepared, and if you are not a millennial that's watching this and you're any other generation, or you are that generation where you're listening to this and you're like, well, what's going to happen? What should I tell my kid?
Yeah.
Send this podcast to them. Just share it.
Yeah.
It's real easy. There's a little share button. It's a little like arrow that goes. Whing.
Yeah.
I know that you guys are listening to this and you have no idea the little motion. You can watch us on YouTube.
Yeah. Yeah, you can find us on YouTube as well, of course. But yeah, I mean, we have, and if you're not in Arizona, we can easily connect you with someone who is an expert on this. They have the fiduciary duty to help build your team, because they have people, they have lawyers, they have CPAs that they can highly recommend to you. And not only that, the fiduciary duty isn't like, oh, sweet, I'm going to get my commission off of this. It's like, I'm here to help you because that is my duty to you as a professional. Yeah. So unfortunately, there tends to be the used car salesman ickiness that gets associated with that. And there are, unfortunately, some out there, too.
Most real estate agents who are senior specialized and do this a lot, we are very relationship-based. We are here to help. More than anything in the entire world, we want to build that relationship with you so that you are making the right decision for you and your family.
Absolutely. That's such a great point. So if you guys have any questions on this is a big podcast, a weighty one. Hopefully it wasn't too dark and didn't scare everyone away.
Essentially, those of you who actually follow us know that when Joe and I are talking, they're weightier, heavier podcasts. They're a little bit longer typically. But we definitely always try to give you good information.
For sure. Well, thank you, Heather. I appreciate your knowledge on this and having the conversation with me.
Absolutely. We'll check you out next time on the Nitty Gritty of Podcast Real Estate.
Awesome.
Nitty Gritty of Real Estate Podcast.
Awesome. We'll get it one of these days. Thank you for listening and watching the Nitty Gritty of Real Estate Podcast here with the Tom J. Krieger team of Keller Williams, Southern Arizona. If you are interested in buying a home, selling a home, or even investing in real estate, we have 5,000 agents across the country that we can connect you to. If you need any free resources, feel free to check out our website at www.thetjkteam.com. We hope you have a great day.